Awesome.
What is up, everybody? It is time for MLB Live Before Lock. And I don't know why the times were weird. So, Eric, you were confused about the start time. For whatever reason, YouTube had the start time listed at 5:45. So it is all over the place with some of the time, which I didn't understand because the back end still had said 6 o'clock when I looked at it. But whatever. We're here now. We're live. The U.S. Open, total carnage. I don't know what percentage of lineups are going to be 6 of 6, but it looks like Bryson isn't even going to come close to making the cut now. Rory isn't going to make the cut, it looks like. Oberg isn't going to make the cut. So, if you guys have 6 of 6 through for a PGA, you're probably sitting pretty good as of right now. But we're here to talk about a 12-game MLB slate. We've got some weather situations to talk about here as well. So do us a favor as you're watching, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And that's actually the first thing I want to ask you about here, Eric, is how are you going to be handling the weather situation? Because there are a few games that are potentially going to be a little bit dicey here. So whether it's the Baltimore Angels game or the Braves Rockies game, are there any games you're considering just removing from your player pool?
The Angels-Baltimore one would be a little bit of a disaster, mainly because that's one of my favorite spots to target. I think a lot of people want to target Charlie Morton, want to target Kakinauch. You definitely want to be going after those two fine individuals. But I haven't done anything here yet to remove anything. We've got Colorado, Atlanta. We've got a lot of different pieces that we can be paying attention to and lots of ways that we can get things going. But I definitely, oh my God.
Nobody else knows why that was funny but us. So I did message EMAC and asked.
Okay, I was on the Peloton, which is why I just got done sprinting here. I looked at the clock and I saw the thing that it was set up for 3:15. So I was like, all right, I'll get my quick Peloton in. Nice little breather before the evening, because I usually end up sitting here till about 8 o'clock my time. I don't know what to tell you other than that was the scariest shit I've ever seen in my entire life. I click back over and I have EMAC going like this to me on the little bottom bar. I'm like, oh lordy.
Yeah, EMAC just jumped in and waved and left. It was pretty funny, but only Eric and me and this Eric Lindquist were able to see EMAC there hop up on screen. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what ends up happening there. Obviously, Baltimore and Atlanta, not crazy far away from each other or anything. Or Baltimore, Washington, those games aren't all that far apart from each other. And then you also got Atlanta, also on the East Coast, not like crazy far away. It's all the same storm system that's coming up the East Coast right now. I know that I'm supposed to be getting rain in New York over the weekend here. So if we look at the current weather that we have for Baltimore, here's what we're looking at. It's chances of pop-up showers, but like 25% chance of rain throughout the night. So as of the way things are looking right now, it's not anything that I'm looking to eject from my player pool or anything like that. And then if you look at Atlanta, it's pretty much the same thing. It's a higher percentage chance of rain later on in the night, but not until after the game is expected to end. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on it. But as things look right now, I'm not going to be making any adjustments to my player pool. I'm just going to ride it out. And if anything crazy ends up happening, we'll see. I see Binking in chat said Atlanta weather concerns being impactful. It could be. As of right now, I'm okay with risking it, though. The Braves do weird shit with their weather sometimes. Like we've seen games where there's a chance of rain. It doesn't end up raining. They just cancel the game anyway. But I have to think that considering where the Braves are in the standings and then the fact that this is a matchup against the Rockies of all teams, I think they want to just play the Rockies straight up and not want to be into a doubleheader situation where those often end up being split. So I think the Braves are going to want to play this.
Yeah, they're 100% going to want to play this. So I was less concerned about the Braves than what I was about Baltimore. At least earlier I was. Right now, just looking at it, it's not great, but it's not anything I'd be hitting eject on. And the Bryce Elder piece is obviously gigantic to this slate. It was this morning, this afternoon, this evening. You're going to want that game to play clean. That's for sure. So I think it's more comfortable actually to click on the bats because, you have the entire day to work with. Starting pitcher with Bryce Elder there. A pop-up is going to happen in Atlanta once, twice a year. There's nothing you can do about it. But as of right now, I don't see any reason to hit eject on that.
Yeah, and if If you guys are playing the early slate, it's the same situation with, and by the early slate, I mean the 6:45 locking slate there. It's the same situation with the game between the Washington Nationals, the Miami Marlins. I'm good with rolling everything out for today. And if anything does change on that front, I will let you guys know. But for right now, not anything that I'm too massively concerned about. So let's go ahead and start looking at some of the pitchers. I am going to filter my lineups here by just the 5-man stacks and select the top 150 and see what the Sims are getting to as far as the pitchers go. And you see right here, right off the bat, Bryce Elder in that bad weather game, he is the pitcher who is pulling the most ownership in my lineup. So obviously going to want to keep an eye on the weather because of that. But as far as pay up options go, we have 3 pitchers who are priced over 10K, Eric, and they've got wildly different ownerships. We've got 35% projected ownership going to Garrett Crochet pitching against the Yankees. Yamamoto is 21% owned pitching against the Giants. And then we've got Logan Webb. He is only 7.5% owned because he's got a really tough matchup against the Los Angeles Dodgers. So if you're paying up for one pitcher, do you have a preference of these 3?
Pretty much none of them. Garrett Crochet, 20%. So I guess, I mean, he's the guy I've got the most of right now. Yamamoto, kind of in that same range. And then Logan Webb, I have 0 of, so that doesn't really matter. I kind of prefer going cheaper across the board on this entire slate. That is kind of the way that I'm going to be going about it. There's no Coors Field, obviously. There's the inverse where we have the pitcher going up against Colorado and it just stands out like a sore thumb. Same thing you had said there a second ago, but I got guys in the 9K range, Peralta. I look at the 8,500 number in Castillo. I look way down the board here with Gavin Williams, who I think is just an unbelievably good tournament option. Not really landing in the 10K range remotely close to where the field is.
Yeah, so the way that I am looking at this is if ownership wasn't a factor, I would just say, oh, Crochet, he's got so much strikeout upside. And way more than Logan Webb, more than Yamamoto, even though it's a tough matchup against the Yankees. But when you consider that he's 35% owned, that's a really high mark for a pitcher going against the Yankees. I know Crochet is an 8.5 strikeout prop against the Yanks as well. I do get to more exposure to him in the Sims than any of the other 2 pay-up options. I just don't feel super comfortable with the amount of ownership he's getting. And that's also what our data is showing as well, because despite Crochet projecting as the highest projected pitcher on the slate, he's the only one who projected here by for north of 20 fantasy points. I still come underweight to the field to him in just under 20% of lineup. So if you have the salary to spend up for somebody, cool, go ahead and play Crochet. But I don't like him as much as the field does at that ownership mark.
Same with you.
Yeah. So for Crochet, for cash games, I say roll him out. I think Crochet and Elder is the way to go in cash as the 2-pitcher combination. You get a cheaper pitcher who's going to enable you to get up to Crochet. For GPPs, I'd rather look in other directions. And in the 9K range, one guy who is showing up in a good amount of lineups here, Eric, it is Freddie Peralta, who was a little bit up and down last season, but he's really rebounded this year. And I've got him right now as the second most rostered pitchers in my exposures here, only behind Bryce Elder. 2.69 ERA, 3.6 expected ERA for Freddie Peralta. The strikeout rate is down a little bit this year, but it's still at 24.5%. He has a 30% strikeout rate overall for his career. So overall, just considering the success that Freddie Peralta has had this year, and then his long track record also of being a pitcher who generates a lot of strikeouts, I like playing Peralta a pretty good amount here against the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, I do too. He makes a ton of sense, and it's not even like some particularly fantastic matchup by any means. And I'm on the over of the game for what it works from a betting perspective, but I think there's a case to be made. It's Eric Fetty on the other side that maybe a little bit is buoying that more. Only a 24.5% K rate, not a ton of strikeouts, but for me, it's just looking at my lineups here with Freddie Peralta. I don't have as much as what you do there on the screen, but I do have. He is my second highest owned pitcher behind Bryce Elder.
Yeah, so Freddie Peralta, I like him the most of any of the pitchers who are 9K or more. Clay Holmes, that's kind of a pass for me. 9K is a really expensive price point for him. Not a guy who I typically expect to work crazy deep into games. He's transitioned pretty well into being a starter, but And I mean, overall, like the numbers do look really strong for him. 2.95 ERA. Been a little bit lucky because he is the 3.89 expected ERA. The real issue I have with Clay Holmes in his transition to a starter, he's not generating nearly as many strikeouts. So a guy who was a elite relief pitcher, 25% strikeout last year, 27% the year before, but now it's 21% as a starter. So that's what he's had to sacrifice in order to work a little bit deeper into games. And then even with that said, we've only seen him go past 6 innings once this entire season. So if he's not going to be going 7+ innings, if he's not going to be striking out very many hitters, it's like, what is his realistic upside at this kind of price point? So I'd rather look a little bit cheaper than him. So overall, all things considered, my favorite pitcher, 9K plus, it is Freddie Peralta. Any other comments you have about the expensive pitchers tonight?
No, Yamamoto's interesting, 6.5K prop, but like, I don't completely love it for whatever reason. And it just comes down to what I'm doing with some of these other stacks. I mean, I think there are so many good tournament stacks that exist on the board where I just need more money in my lineups. And then you take into account Gavin Williams, what's happening with his strikeout arsenal going up against Seattle in Seattle, what's happening with Bryce Elder as far as like, maybe there's some improvement in the last couple of starts. I'm not a big Bryce Elder guy, but I'm a big targeting Colorado guy, and especially Colorado after playing at home for a week or two and being able to get them back out of Coors and take advantage of that first game back. Like if this were, midway through the series, we'd still be targeting Bryce Elder, but like, I feel auspiciously good knowing that they played in Colorado yesterday and now they're going to be seeing breaking stuff at sea level and things are going to get problematic there. So 7,800 for him, 8K for Gavin Williams. We've got Freddie Peralta serviceable, Luis Castillo serviceable. Like there's just options that I think further down the line make more sense.
So let's talk about some of the pitchers further down the line. And the pricing's a little bit weird because despite the size of the slate, there's only 2 9K pitchers. There's only, actually, there's a little bit more than that. I should say just ones who are showing up in lineups for me at all for today in the Sims that are showing up. 2 pitchers in the 8K range that show up as being meaningful: Luis Castillo, Gavin Williams. I do think that Gavin Williams is a pretty interesting pitcher to be looking at today. I kind of get the sense based on what you had just said that you also feel that way, because Gavin Williams, elite stuff, really big fastball. The Mariners offense also, it has sputtered a little bit since the first month or so of the season, where it looked like they were rebounding. This was a team that we were rostering pitchers against a ton last year because of how much they were striking out. And while the offense has been better this year, we haven't seen quite the same amount of strikeout rate. So we haven't gotten the same ownership on pitchers. But I think going forward, it could be something that we see rebound a little bit in terms of us targeting some pitchers against the Mariners. But also Gavin Williams, considering the arm talent he has and a reasonable price point of $8,000, I like getting to him in the 8K range. I certainly prefer him to Steven Kolick at $8,200. I prefer him to Luis Castillo, who is seemingly just not capable of generating strikeouts anymore. For whatever reason, Luis Castillo isn't getting swing and misses. So of the pitchers who are 8K, Gavin Williams is by far my favorite one.
Yeah, there's a couple of things we'll get into with Luis Castillo, but 25.2% K rate for Gavin Williams. You brought up the fastball. I think that kind of goes without saying. He has a pretty decent ground ball rate now. I mean, this is a guy who was sitting like mid 30% AAA and then 38% his first season, up to 42%. So more ground ball contact. The home run to fly balls are up, but overall, I feel pretty good about him in this game environment, in this spot. You look at like all of his pitch values, you look at like what's going on. I think that there's a lot of swing and miss potential here against this Seattle lineup, and you can't ask for a better ballpark to get dropped into. So you add all of that up together, the stuff plus on the slider, it's tied for his highest he's had. The changeup is looking better, which, is not like a go-to for him, but at least it's there. And the curveball's been massively improved. So everything across the board for Gavin Williams just lines up. This is a great spot for him.
Got off to a little bit of a slow start this year, but he's definitely righted the ship. 3.86 ERA, 4.4 expected ERA. The strikeout stuff, that should always be pretty solid for Gavin Williams just because of how good his actual stuff is. So he's got a 25.2% strikeout rate. That's up from 23.8 last year. And then also, if you look at the splits for Gavin Williams, this is where I think it's overall interesting to look at some of the trends for him, because like I said, a little bit of a slow start to the year. So March and April, he had a 5.14 ERA. May, he had a 3.28 ERA. And then so far in June, just a couple of starts, but a 2.13 ERA. So you really like the way that's trending. The underlying numbers also suggest that he's been better as the season's gone on. And then the strikeout rate as well. After it was only 22.8% in March and April, it's been about 27% since then. So Gavin Williams, I don't know if he was maybe just not at 100% or a slow start to the season for him, but I like that he's built as the season's gone. And then if we move into the, by the way, did you want to talk a little bit more about Luis Castillo?
Yeah, so this is just one of those products, and it's a belief I've had about Luis Castillo since he got acquired. I mean, he pitched really well in a tough ballpark in Cincinnati, got acquired by Seattle, and I basically just I've made him like a back in when I had a larger piece of this fantasy or dynasty team once upon a time. It had Luis Castillo, and I wasn't a big fan of it. I inherited it from somebody else, but we kind of have made it work with him. You just play him at home. You stay away from him completely on the road. Like, the guy's giving up 297 batting average and a 1.50 whip on the road this season, 209 batting average, 113 whip, and a higher strikeout rate at home. I mean, it completely makes sense. You give him a cavernous ballpark. He's obviously more comfortable to go after teams and attack the zone. That's just kind of been the way that it's been throughout his tenure here with the Seattle Mariners. It's such an advantage to pitch there. And I think one of the things you can also see with a lot of these pitchers, and it's the same reason that I haven't been like a George Kirby guy at times. And there's just kind of been, I got questions about Logan Evans. 4.67 expected ERA. Sure, that doesn't look good. You expect negative regression on a 3.31 ERA, but not really at home. Like, this is just such a good pitcher's park. And I think you got some strikeouts here to work with Cleveland. And if the field just is this immune to playing him, he's sub 10%. I'm very happy to take shots on Luis Castillo because despite what we're seeing in terms of the stuff, I think you definitely can let it rip a little bit more when you're pitching in Seattle.
Yeah, I do see just like kind of a general thing to call out here. But Steve Miner in chat said, look at Luis Castillo's numbers at home versus road, home versus okay. So this is so I assume it means home versus lefties. Look at Castillo's numbers home versus lefties over the last 2 years. Without even knowing what they are, I will say that anything that Luis Castillo has done in previous years doesn't mean a ton to me. He is a completely different pitcher now.
Yeah, totally. I mean, he's a 4.67 expected ERA guy. He's never had a mark over 4 until this year. He's had a lot of tread on the tires. He's 32, but I mean, he has somehow stayed healthy throughout his entire MLB career. Like, he hasn't had Tommy John. To my knowledge, he hasn't, at least he hasn't missed a single season. There are a lot of innings that he has put in at the big league level. And I'm pulling up these splits just because you brought him up and, just the home road. I mean, I just know that when you're pitching in Seattle, that's the big thing for me. It's not the stuff. I'm not a Luis Castillo guy by any means, but I do think that you can find some upside here when you walk up against a lineup that obviously will have Kyle Manzardo, where those are more strikeouts available to you than what you're going to get when they're facing lefties. You're going to get an opportunity to kind of really attack some of the hitters at the bottom half of this lineup in a great ballpark where some of the power up top can't always hurt you. And I don't know, it just feels like one of those spots where if he's going to be sub 10% in this ballpark, I have to take shots on that in tournaments. I kind of have to.
Yeah, it's been odd. It could just be age. Luis Castillo, I mean, you look at, so 2023, he had a 27% strikeout rate, 2024, 24% strikeout rate. This year, that strikeout rate has gone down to 19%. And then also you see similar trends with his underlying numbers. 2023, 3.79 I mean, if you go back to 2022, 3.31 expected ERA. This is year over year. So we went from a 3.31 expected ERA to a 3.79 expected ERA to a 3.91 expected ERA, and now to a 4.67 expected ERA. And also, his fastball velocity has gone down year over year every single season since 2020. So he's a guy who got called up to the big leagues, somewhat late. His first full season was in 2018 when he was 25 years old. And yeah, even though, like you said, he's never really gotten hurt before, he's been pretty stable as a pitcher. He's now thrown 1,300 innings since getting called up in 2017, where he pitched half a season. So it could just be wear and tear without one significant injury. And as a result, you just have a guy who still serviceable as like a middle of the rotation-ish sort of starter. But for whatever reason, every slate he gets priced at this. Even when he pitched against the White Sox, he was at the same price point. So like there's scenarios where he's going to make some sense. But against the Cleveland Guardians offense, we're still $8,500. I'd rather look elsewhere. So, 7K pitchers. Let's talk about Bryce Elder because he gets a great matchup against the Rockies. Mentioned maybe a little bit of weather concerns. I'm looking over that for now. Not anything that I am going to change my exposures over or anything like that. At 29% projected ownership, I think Bryce Elder's going under-owned pretty significantly considering the matchup.
Yep, I just am jamming him. I'm going to play him in single entry. I bet Colorado plus 2.5, but it's because it's Colorado plus 2.5, and I don't expect a lot of scoring either direction. I'm not a Herman Marquez guy. I mean, we'll obviously cover him in the will he get shelled category of things, and definitely have some Atlanta interest in large field, but I don't really know if there's a case you could make against Bryce Elder. I don't think Elder's good, so it doesn't even matter. It's just that it's as elite of a matchup as you can possibly walk into. You're getting them the first day that they step out of Coors. You're getting, an offense that is setting records for how auspiciously bad. I mean, they're this year's White Sox, 74 WRC plus against righties, 25.5% K rate. And I will say it's not going to be as high as that going forward, but it's still going to be pretty damn high. You still get Keston Hiura in there, 35.3% K rate. There's actually room for that to grow. I mean, this guy is a strikeout machine. And, it's basically Michael Toglia who got sent down and now getting replaced by Keston Hiura. I guess you could just say 1-for-1, just Toglia batted higher up in the order. Ryan McMahon sitting north of 28%, ridiculous stuff there. Jordan Beck, Thairo Estrada, not going to be a huge strikeout target, but there are more than enough strikeouts. There's not a lot of run generation, and 21% K rate for Bryce Elder. Not my favorite, but he adds this slider as kind of the primary offering. And I just don't see a lot of these Colorado guys hitting it. I mean, going through kind of some of their profiles, a couple of different places. And I can't come up with a case other than ownership to play the Rockies. Sometimes you're looking for that 1% stack that can be it. I don't think today's the day for that, but I think today's the day you're just jamming Bryce Elder at this ownership.
Yeah, that's how I feel as well. And also, if you guys are just coming in now or weren't listening at the top, for me, Bryce Elder and Garrett Crochet, that's the cash game combination at pitcher. Even though Crochet has that matchup against the Yankees, there's enough ownership there, enough strikeout upside where those are the two guys that I want to be going to. I think Elder, particularly for cash, is the easier button to press, but you still good with Crochet and cash as the guy to pair with him?
Yeah, I think you probably do Crochet, mainly because you're not going to be stacking in cash or anything like you're going to be able to mix and match the bats. I think you take the certainty, the floor of Crochet along for the ride. I mean, 8.5 is just a gigantic number when we're talking strikeouts. And despite the fact that I'm not going to be playing him in tournaments really that much, it's impossible for me to imagine a scenario I'm playing cash today where he's not in that lineup.
If you guys have not already done it, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you're looking to bet either on Game 4 of the NBA Finals, if you're looking to bet on tonight's baseball games, this weekend's baseball games, Game 5 of the NBA Finals early next week, check out OddsShopper Portfolio EV. Your first 7 days, they are totally free. So if you're undecided about whether the tools are for you, guess what? You can try them out with no cost at all. You don't even have to place a bet. If you just want to get your foot in the door and see what it is that we have behind the paywall over there, check it out. Link down below in the YouTube description box and take advantage of the 7-day free trial to try out the tools for yourself. So getting back to some of the other pitchers in the 7K range, Bryce Elder to me is by far the best option, not even a comparable guy to compare him to. And I mean, the field looks at this the same way because we got Bryce Elder is 30-ish% owned, and there's not another pitcher in the 7K range. Actually, there's not another pitcher sub 8K that's even more than 8% owned on the entire slate. Are there any pitchers who are in the 7K range other than Bryce Elder who you have any interest in?
Yep.
And who would that be?
Ryan Yarborough.
I knew it wasn't Chris Paddock because he's on your Twins and you hate their pitchers.
The Twins. And I took an under and got closing line value with Bailey Ober, thinking I was a responsible individual and he had changed and the weather was going to be good. You know what happened, Greg? 6 home runs for the Texas Rangers happened. It was so painful. Ryan Yarborough. For those who don't know, this is a difficult matchup. The strikeouts, I will point to it with the Boston Red Sox. It will be feast and famine. You could get destroyed by Rob Refsnyder and his 56.5% hard hit, 467 expected slugging, or you could strike him out. He faces almost primarily lefties. He has a 28.5% K rate. You got Devers, Rami Gonzalez, Carlos Narvaez, Roman Anthony. This is just such a weird middle of the lineup here. Then you get Trevor Story. The only guy sub 20% is Abraham Toro in the entire lineup in terms of strikeout rate this entire season. And you go back to previous seasons for him. Yeah, he's had periods where he struck out a lot, periods where he struck out a little, but for the most part, he's been around 18, 19%. So I expect that number to definitely come up from where it's sitting at now. And you just have 5 or 6 guys that are just strikeout targets where you're getting the platoon. Like Rafael Devers, he's getting the platoon. Roman Anthony's getting the platoon advantage. Like, I think Ryan Yarborough is auspiciously owned. Again, it is a terrible ballpark. It's a very difficult matchup, but he has a 23% K rate that, I mean, he's basically just kind of ran away with the job here for the Yankees. It was a terrible last outing for him. I'm not trying to defend that by any means, but we're talking a 7K pitcher in Ryan Yarborough with a much higher K rate than he is getting credit for. And nobody wants to click on it because he just gave up 8 earned against Boston last time out. I will roll the dice on him purely because of the setup of this Boston lineup and his ownership.
I have one guy who I have a tiny bit of interest in, and it's Taj Bradley. It's mostly a bet on talent here. Obviously, I don't like the matchup at all against the Mets. So Taj Bradley, oddly, had a blow-up start his last time out, and it was against the Marlins of all teams. The starts before that, though, in Houston, 10 strikeouts, no walks. The start before that against your Twins, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. The start before that, once again against the Houston Astros, 7 strikeouts and 2 walks. So you look at Taj Bradley, it's like he has got elite stuff. Is he starting to figure it out and put it together? Because he's dominated a pretty decent Houston offense. Has been playing better as of late. The Twins offense has been better this year. And then all of a sudden, of all teams, he just sucks against the Marlins, which I don't really know exactly what to make of that other than, baseball is random and weird shit happens. But also, you look at Taj Bradley's numbers this year, and well, he does have a 4.58 ERA, Eric. He's a 3.33 expected ERA. He has run into some really bad sequencing with a 68% strand rate. So I'm going to bet on Taj Bradley, not in a way that, I love him or anything like that, but at 5% ownership, I think if you played, 10 lineups and had him in one, you're 2x the field. I have a little bit of interest in Taj Bradley just because there have been some positive trends there. Also, his strikeout stuff, which has been better as of late, it was really good in previous years too, before this season. So I don't know exactly what happened earlier on in this year, but his first year in the big leagues, a 28% strikeout rate. Last year, a 27% strikeout rate. And this year, it's dipped to 21% out of nowhere. But like I said, it had been better in previous starts before that run-in against the Marlins. So I'm okay taking some shots on Taj Bradley, but keep in mind, it's only because I'm trying to find somebody else who I like in the 7K range as a pivot off of Bryce Elder, and there just aren't very many guys to look at.
Yeah, I think Taj is probably my second favorite that aren't Bryce Elder. So it's Elder by a long shot, then Ryan Yarborough slightly ahead of Taj Bradley. That's kind of the order. I would rather punch myself in the face than play Adrian Hauser. I'd rather, take my own foot and smash it in a doorway than play Nick Martinez. And I would rather do something terrible than play Chris Paddock. Like the most extreme of the examples. I ran out of examples.
All right. So with that in mind,
is there acknowledge the ridiculousness of that?
Is there anybody like the pitching just really gets thin once you get cheap here? So we're kind of grasping at straws here a little bit.
Nothing sub 7K. Not a single thing other than Colton Gordon. Colton Gordon's it.
Colton Gordon showed up in a couple of lineups. Kiter Montero showed up. I don't like any of these guys either. If you were playing 150 lineups and you had, a couple percentage exposures here and there, cool. But I know for a lot of you who watch our shows, you play 1, 2, maybe 3 lineups. I wouldn't play anybody in this price range.
I 100% agree. If I did, it'd be Colton Gordon against my Twins. You get Buxton up top. That's always nice to get to face him 3 times if you're in a groove because, well, he's going to strike out. You also have Willie Castro always in there, just been a lefty killer, but batting 6th today, not really higher up there. It's just a tough strikeout matchup in the middle of the section of that lineup. Jeffers, Correa, France, Lewis, none of them strike out. And you have to wait until you get another lefty in Matt Wallner till you really run into like a buoyed strikeout rate. I mean, Willie Castro strikes out more against the right side. So, I mean, I can't imagine a scenario where I would have to go sub 7K in like 20 max or something, but in 150 completely makes sense to go up against the Minnesota Twins and try to like make something happen with a guy who has a good strikeout arsenal is what Colton Gordon does. He just gives up a lot of contact. He's going to give up fly balls, and it's not a great recipe when you're facing a Twins team that I think is going to just continue to have more and more and more power as, Royce Lewis finally gets his bearings. Can you hit home run number 2 today, Greg, for me? Can you do it?
He
Dear
might.
God.
He just
This
might.
is my first time I've bet him all year, which is kind of wild to think about. Royce Lewis is plus 560 against a lefty, and I had to think whether or not I actually wanted to pull the trigger on that. That's so wild.
And if you guys do have any questions for us in your Stokastic sub, hit me up in the Discord channel. If you're not a Stokastic sub, you can sign up for any of our packages using the link down below in the YouTube description box, or take advantage of our link join offer because, as you guys probably know by now, for each one of these books that you sign up for, you get 1 free month of core access to a sport of your choosing. Also, if you prefer, this could apply to Portfolio EV, so you can get 1 free month of Portfolio EV for each of these books you sign up for if you prefer to use that as opposed to signing up for one of our DFS packages. So take advantage of those offers before they disappear and go away forever. Pitching over on the FanDuel side of things, pretty interesting because we don't have any one real crazy piece of chalk on FanDuel. Crochet, just under 20% owned. Yamamoto, 16% owned. Bryce Elder is 15% owned. Then you got Freddie Peralta, 12% owned. Gavin Williams, 9% owned. Every other pitcher is sub 5% owned on FanDuel. Eric, who's your favorite pitcher to roster on FanDuel? If you're playing one GPP lineup, and then we'll talk about a cash lineup afterwards, but if you're just playing one GPP lineup, who'd be the pitcher you lean on for FanDuel?
Gavin Williams.
Ooh, interesting. That was not what I thought you were going to say.
Gavin Williams. And it's probably Garrett Crochet or Gavin Williams. I mean, this is where you roll out some of the more expensive guys. And again, you gave me the one lineup scenario, and that's kind of what I'm looking at, where I think Gavin Williams has a crazy amount of upside today. I'm not betting Cal Raleigh for what it's worth. All the Cal Raleigh people, I've been just tapped into Cal Raleigh's soul over the last 2 weeks. And I know when to hold them and know when to fold them, when to walk away and when to run. I'll count my money when I'm sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. And we roster Gavin Williams in that spot. But Garrett Crochet and Yamamoto, I get why they're where their ownership is. It's a one-pitcher site. It's not all that cost-prohibitive, but I will say this, Judge, Ohtani, everybody's in a more difficult matchup than normal on FanDuel, where we've gotten extreme pricing on those guys specifically. And because I have less interest in them there, maybe we see really low ownership relative to some of these other slates where they're just naturally 30, 35% owned, even on massive slates is a 4-3-1. But I don't know. I feel like Gavin Williams plus either a Judge Ohtani, what an upside combination at lower ownership that you're kind of looking at there. Gavin Williams would be my one lineup scenario. Freddie Peralta looks awesome at 7.5% ownership there. Can't really make a case for Ryan Yarbrough on a one-pitcher site. So again, I made that specifically for DK, and I know the risks that come with that. I don't think the risk is worth the reward there when you've got Yamamoto and Crochet with 6.5 and 8.5K props. But Bryce Elder, I think he's about appropriate. Would much rather fire him up at DK where that money really does something for you as an SP1. But Gavin Williams, I really like it 10%.
Well, it is definitely a warm summer evening here, Eric, because I forgot to turn the fan on in my office. And it is hot enough where I really need the air conditioning and the fan going on because it is hot as balls in here. Because if I'm not mistaken, that's how that song opens. That's the first line. But for me, I go Bryce Elder. There's no real crazy chalk on FanDuel that I feel I'm massively concerned about. So give me Bryce Elder, 15% ownership and $8,500. Gavin Williams, he's lesser owned, but it's not that significant. 9% versus 15%. Just give me Elder against the Rockies. And I like that not only is there a ceiling whenever any pitcher faces the Rockies, but there should be a pretty high floor as well in this spot. So my preference is to go to Bryce Elder. And even for cash games, I know that guys like Crochet and Yamamoto are a little bit more popular. I would still go Bryce Elder for cash games on FanDuel too. He's my favorite guy for FanDuel, cash, and tournaments.
Yeah, I think I would prefer him for cash too. I'd be pretty spread out amongst those 4 guys in GPPs, those top tier guys. I don't know if I want to get crazy. I mean, we'll put Peralta into the mix there. We'll put it those 5, but Yamamoto, Crochet, Elder, Williams, Peralta. If I were making 100 lineups, I doubt I go below any of them. Yeah, I wouldn't play anybody sub 8,500 on FanDuel.
Yeah, there's nobody who's contrarian that I think is all that meaningful on FanDuel. You guys look here. I've got the Sims run up here on screen, like 2% of Clay Holmes, one lineup with Logan Webb. But yeah, there isn't anybody who's in more than 2% of lineups in the Sims out of 150 priced below $8,500. So I think you could build your pitcher pool just around those 5 guys, which is more or less what you were saying.
Yep, same thing.
Any final thoughts on pitching here?
I mean, we made cases for some disgusting guys in Yarborough and Bradley in their respective spots. I mean, what I'm looking at, my wife's in New York. She said it was actually pretty cool. So, I mean, is it that big of a difference between New Jersey, where you're at, and like New York proper? Because I'm seeing 70 degrees, like wind, like it's not any like great hitting weather over there from what it looks like.
I guess it could be windier where your wife is outside, but like at the moment here, yeah, it's in like the high 80s and it is fairly warm in my office.
What the hell? Yeah, no, it's not showing that in New York here at the moment at Citi Field, which I guess is like right off of the water there, for what it's worth. So maybe a little bit cooler because of that in the Manhattan section. But just wanted to point it out that I just was seeing different stuff and had talked to my wife this morning. So just thought I'd share that with everybody. I love my wife. How about that?
Yeah, well, I guess she's, based on what I guess she's listening, and Eric's trying to get some brownie points there. Also, if you guys want to play against EMAC just posted a link in the YouTube chat. He is posting, what is it? A FanDuel $2 tournament that he built in there and threw it in there. There's 20 spots left. So you guys want to play against EMAC, which between me and you, Eric, that's free money. You got at least one free spot in that tournament there. Take advantage of it. Go ahead and enter EMAC's tournament. If you guys want to find the link, just hop into YouTube chat, click on that link, play against EMAC tonight. Have yourself some fun. Once again, I'll ask you any thoughts on any pitchers here or anything at all that we didn't touch on?
Nope.
All right, let me just check to make sure there weren't any Discord questions that we got. Last I looked, there weren't any, and there are still not any. So we could go ahead and move on to the hitter discussion. And starting with the DraftKings side of things here, Eric, I want to know if you are building out just one lineup for a DraftKings GPP, what would be the team that you look to stack in that lineup? I've got the Sims run here. I've got this pulled up on screen. I've got it here now sorted by 5-man stack exposure, so you guys could see what the Sims are liking for large field GPPs. But single entry, Eric, you're picking one team. Who are you stacking?
Baltimore. This Baltimore-LA game just looks incredible to me. I'm a little surprised to see the ownership on the Angels. I think they're probably who I end up rolling out in single entry, but in large field, I'm just jamming Baltimore against Koch. I mean, this guy is just going to get completely bludgeoned from now until the end of time. Kakanowicz is just going to be out of the league sooner rather than later. I know he's a young prospect that they have some love for, but boy, is he not prospecting here at the moment. And I don't even know what they find to be all that appealing. He doesn't, like, for a guy who throws a sinker 47% of the time, it surely doesn't get ground ball contact the way that you would want it to. It's not getting any swing and miss. And then the slider's kind of what he's got to set everything up for. But when the slider gets hit, it is awful. 525 expected slugging, 520 slugging against it. The changeup isn't all that good to lefties. I don't know what you could look at in his arsenal and come away with, other than the fact that he throws like a fastball 95, 96 and like does have a higher than normal ground ball rate, but overall, just because, if you have a primary sinker, you would assume that the ground ball rate is going to be somewhere in that 50% territory. But like, this guy fucking sucks, Greg.
He's not great. The reason I think they're a great large field tournament stack. For single entry, though, I think they're probably gonna be like 20 to 25% owned, and it's a little bit too much ownership for me in that kind of setting. The direction I am looking to go, and his numbers are really good this year. I know it's actually somebody you've brought up a couple of times, somebody that you don't believe in. But Texas Rangers going up against Adrian Hauser and the Chicago White Sox. Hauser's made 4 starts this year, and yeah, the numbers are really good in 4 starts. He's got a 1.48 ERA and a 3.22 expected ERA, but once again, I repeat, he's made 4 starts. There's a reason why he landed on the White Sox this year. It's because nobody else wanted to roster him or have any kind of interest in being on their team. Here's what we've had the last few years from Adrian Hauser. Last year with the Mets, he had a 5.84 ERA and a 5.24 expected ERA. The year before with the Brewers, he had a 4.12 ERA and a 4.18 expected ERA. And the year before that, a 4.73 ERA and a 4.91 expected ERA. So I guess 2023 wasn't terrible with the 4.12 ERA and the 4.18 expected ERA. But you look at him last year with the Mets, where he had the ERA close to 6 and the expected ERA over 5. He had a 14% strikeout rate. And now he's going to be making half his starts in a hitter-friendly field in Chicago. Now also you got a Rangers lineup that's a little bit healthier as well. I think that this is a pitcher who is there for the taking in Adrian Hauser. There isn't going to be ownership on Texas because of the ERA for Hauser through 4 starts, which I'm putting basically no stock into. So I really like getting overweight to the field on the Rangers. They are showing up in 13% of lineups in this industry as well. Like, this team's going to be like 2% owned in single entry. Give me the Texas Rangers in small field stuff.
Yeah, if you're in the Lindy and Friends Discord, get ready to have some fun with some Texas Rangers props. They're so low at Globe Life, and Globe Life hasn't been particularly hitter-friendly, and obviously the roof will be closed from now until November because, well, actually, no, until September, because they will be awful and not make the playoffs because of the pitching staff being hurt and just problems overall with it. But I am with you. Adrian Hauser, he can't keep getting away with it. You just can't. It's going to run into it. He had a negative 0.1 WAR last season, like negative WAR guy. Do you know how hard it is to have a negative WAR? It's pretty hard. You have to be working for that. Like, it's truly like trying to, I'm trying to even think of like the analogy for it. He just does everything. There's nothing good about his arsenal. There's not a single pitch that I look at where I'm like, that's going to be maybe the way he survives so far. So 2.71 FIP, XFIP 3.48, like, these are all numbers that are due for massive, massive regression.
There are 4 pitchers this year so far that have a negative wins above replacement. Would you like to try to guess who those 4 are?
Ooh, is one of them Cock?
He's close.
Okay.
He isn't. He's very close, though. There's a couple of pitchers who are really close. So Jack Koknowitz is at a 0.1 wins above replacement. Okay. Andre Palante also is at 0.1 wins above replacement. So slightly above, but
one is definitely the Gibson. Gibson has to be there. Kyle Gibson.
Not. But I also think he's barely pitched this year. That's the reason why he doesn't qualify.
Okay, got it. Charlie Morton?
No, I think Morton's been okay this year.
Really?
I think so.
All right.
Yeah. Charlie Morton.
Okay, let's go to Colorado.
No. You know what?
It has to be one.
Charlie Morton's made half of his appearances out of the bullpen. That's why.
There you go. Antonio Senzatelli yesterday is definitely one of the 4.
He would be. He also has not pitched enough innings to qualify. So
this is why the qualifying is the hard part about this. All right, go ahead.
Brandon Pfaadt.
Oh, he's been awful. Yeah,
he's been worse.
He's the worst in baseball.
Yeah, worst so far. Negative 0.3. The other pitchers who are negative: Randy Vasquez.
Okay, how Randy Vasquez? He can't keep getting away with it, Greg. This guy is the worst. Okay, go ahead.
So, yeah, I mean, you look, Randy Vasquez is a 5.93 expected ERA and a 5.36 FIP. So, yeah, bad things are happening for him in the near future. The other 2, Zach Gallen. What a fall from grace for Zach. His numbers are horrific this year.
Wow, I know. And I'm a Zach Gallen guy. I was very quick to start targeting him, so that was good. And then all the numbers are gone now. You can't bet against him anymore. Now you have to like bet on him doing good stuff, which may or may not happen. The last one, I can't get it. I can't come up with it.
Zach Littell is the other one. He's also been pretty. So another one too, who like if you just look at in a similar way to Randy Vasquez, just been super lucky this year. A 90% strand rate for Zach Littell and a 250 BABIP. And that's what's gotten him to a 3.84 ERA. So he's got as many. So like he's somebody who we're going to want to stack against going forward. Same with Randy Vasquez.
Yeah, we talked about him a little bit yesterday, Boston. Thank you for coming. Have a nice day.
Yeah, so those are a couple of pitchers who've been really bad this year. But anyway, Adrian Hauser, negative wins above replacement last year. That's how we got on this. I think he's going to be bad going forward. I like stacking the Texas Rangers today. Who are the other stacks that you're prioritizing here, Eric? As you guys could see on screen, 4 teams that show up in at least 12% of lineups as a 5-man stack in the Sims. It was the Atlanta Braves, the Texas Rangers, the Baltimore Orioles, the Kansas City Royals. Do you dislike any of those teams or have any additional commentary on them?
Yeah, we'll see what happens with the weather. If people are going to get freaked out because of the weather, it's good hitting weather right now. Even though we're playing Bryce Elder, I think we can all agree why we're playing Bryce Elder. It is matchup based. And the other side gets to go up against a pretty decent matchup themselves. German Marquez is not very good. That all being said, I did bet Colorado plus 2.5. So you got to be careful with what you say here because German Marquez, I do expect, like most guys, should have better away numbers than what he does. He's been better at home, and it makes no sense. 348 batting average on the road, 1.93 whip, 8.82 ERA on the road, 4.91 ERA at home. That makes no sense other than maybe like he likes the comfort of his own bed. He has like a very nice Posturepedic pillow, something of that nature. But I can't look at German Marquez and not say that Atlanta isn't a very, very viable stack.
Yeah, I like Atlanta quite a bit. I have continually thought this Braves team is going to bounce back and be okay. It looked like they were when they finally got back to 500. I was like, the Braves have righted the ship, and then they go on what was like a 7-game losing streak or something like that. Also, some horrific losses for them. Like they had that game where they're up like 10-4 going to the 9th inning, and they allow 7 runs. They have just had some terrible, terrible endings to games. So. At this point, it's hard to expect them to make the playoffs, but I think they should be one of the better offenses in baseball going forward. Acuna still looked great. I know they've had a lot of blowups and issues with their bullpen, but German Marquez, I know that you have to take some of his numbers with a little bit of grain of salt just because he has the impossible task of making half his starts at Coors Field, but he's got a 7 ERA this year, a 5.08 expected ERA. And even though this isn't Coors Field, it's not like Atlanta is some pitcher's haven either. So I like stacking against German Marquez with the Atlanta Braves. The Sims are liking it a little bit as well. You seem to be getting on board with it. And then another thing too, German Marquez, another pitcher who kind of like when we talked about Luis Castillo and just the depreciation of his strikeout stuff, even though he used to pitch, well, he's always made half his starts in Coors Field. He's done his entire career in Colorado. Makes you wonder what German Marquez could have been earlier in his career when he was actually kind of decent, but had to pitch with the Rockies. So here are his strikeout rates for the last few years. He went to a 21% strikeout rate in 2023. Well, actually, I think he dealt with some injuries. There might be some sample size. Yeah, there are some sample size issues here. But either way, he has a career strikeout rate of 22.5%. This year, where he's made a good amount of starts, his strikeout rate is 13.9%, Eric.
So bad. I mean,
that's a problem when you're pitching in a hitter's ballpark against a good offense. The Braves could put some crooked numbers up on the board. They could hit, multiple homers this game as well. I really like the Braves stacks against Marquez.
Yep, I'm with you. It's a really good stack to get to today. I really like it for one-offs too. I mean, if you are going to go to Acuna, Riley, Wolson, like we're talking some of the best hitters at their positions in baseball. It's very definable how you go about stacking them. The other difficult part, you have like no multi-position eligibility whatsoever on any single player on Atlanta. But that only, I really like something I should actually take some time and dig into even a little bit more. But the thinking is basically like when you have these guys as one-offs or as a stack even, like there's only so high their ownership can get on a slate like this because there's only one position you're playing Matt Olson, only one position you're playing Ozzie Albies, only one position you're playing, any of the outfielders, Sean Murphy, only catcher. Like there is, I would say, like a ceiling to what that ownership can actually get to. And so I always feel good mixing and matching them in tournaments. And like when I'm hand building out stuff, like I'm playing Austin Riley and I'm probably going to play Matt Olson as well in the single entry and just have them as like the two mans because they're just popping big time against German Marquez. They're not bettable at their numbers, but I love having position winners like that, especially when it's not like first base outfield where everybody can get to this piece and mix and match them in lineups. I really love position winners like that.
All right, so let's look for some more contrarian stacks because the teams we've talked about so far, Texas actually is fairly contrarian. Another one too that I like a little bit is, we were talking about him before, but also, the Angels going up against Charlie Morton. That's a stack that I also am liking a little bit more than our data does. For some other teams as well, I can make a case for the Chicago White Sox just as a secondary stack to save some salary with. We have them with a 15% chance to be the top value stack on the slate. Sean Armstrong going to be on the mound here for Texas. But it's really just, you look at Chicago, they have some individual hitters that have a pulse. It's kind of the same conversation that we've had in previous days about the White Sox. It's not really 5-man stacks I want to make of them, but let's see. Are there hitters here from the White Sox?
Vargas every day. Yeah, like Vargas is always sub 3K, and he's been, I would say, vastly improved. 9 home runs, 756 OPS. Like overall, he's just been a completely different ball player this year. And, this is what the Dodgers thought he was going to be, where they could get him to loft the ball and do all of these things that they needed to. Angels Orioles delayed due to inclement weather. That's a disaster because there's rain coming in later. Jesus.
Yeah, I'll pull up that weather to see what it's looking like right now. I'll just finish up this thought on the White Sox. So White Sox, Luis Robert is 4K. Vargas, like you mentioned, he's 2,900. Midroth, $3,100, as mid as it gets in the middle infield. Benintendi, $2,800. Those are all guys who show up in some lineups in the Sims. Of the three of them, Benintendi, Vargas, Robert, I view all of them as being viable options to save some salary with in large field GPPs. So secondary stack, I think they make some sense. But let's look at some of the weather in Baltimore and let's see how much of a concern should this be for us.
It's pretty concerning.
There still isn't like a crazy high chance of rain throughout the day. It's tough. It's tough, right? Because there's clearly massive upside in this spot for both offenses. But then also, you have some of the weather risk here, but it's not like this game is overwhelmingly likely to get canceled. So I don't know. What are you making of this spot now? Do you want to hit eject?
I don't know. I'm just kind of piecing together my thoughts because it is such an upside spot. Highest implied total on the slate. Baltimore is going to be the most popular team on the slate. And I don't think that'll change in the next 10 minutes. Like this news came out late enough. I bet people still roll with it. Maybe aren't that concerned, but like this is the first game of the series. And if it wasn't the first game of the series, I wouldn't be as concerned, but like there's nothing stopping them from just playing 2 games on Saturday and then rolling it into Sunday and getting the hell up out of there. Like, yeah, they're scheduled for a 1:00 game tomorrow. So 4:00 Eastern, 1:00 my time. I'm just kind of going through the schedule and seeing, like, is there actual urgency to get this game in today? It's an afternoon game. I'm very nervous about this now because Sunday they play 1:35 p.m., 10:35 my time. Saturday with an afternoon game, they could easily just make it whatever they wanted. They could go morning, afternoon, they could go afternoon, evening. So like I do not feel good now that they are late starting this. That is for sure.
All right, so I'm pulling up the radar on my phone right now for Baltimore. Radar, Baltimore, and we'll see what it is that looks like. Baltimore, Maryland.
So Arkansas, it's raining. Oh, I'm just going to give you time. I'll answer a couple of things here. So it's raining there all weekend, though, so might as well get it in. You can't do it with inclement weather. If you're from the Midwest or, obviously this is East Coast, but like when you have thunderstorms, it doesn't matter if there's rain or not. You're just not going to play with that shit going on. Eric and Nervous don't match well. Fuck you, Sotex. Do y'all like Olsen for 2 bases at even money on FanDuel? He's minus on most others. Yeah, I'm looking at a couple of those props. I think some of them look pretty decent. Matt Olsen one actually looked pretty efficient to me. So it's the Austin Riley one that I thought looked really, really good. You get more cavern out there to left. It's one of the longest left field fences, like depth-wise in baseball, but it helps it for doubles and things of that nature. So I always like when I get like right on right Austin Riley, and he's plus money, I think, at the moment too. Let's see. What? I was trying to be empathetic. Fuck you, Sotex. I was kidding. In a nice way. Yeah, Eric and Nervous. I'm just trying to figure out what we're supposed to do. I mean, this is the most important thing we can cover in the next 10 minutes. It's the most popular team.
I'm going to put the radar on. Why did everything freeze?
Oh.
All right. So final thoughts here on the weather are that if they wait it out, it looks like it should stop raining around.
Oh, got sent to the ether. Hello?
Oh. Trying to pull the radar up is apparently, while I'm doing all the screen sharing, is proven to be problematic.
It's okay. Switch to Fios 2 gig internet.
Right. Yeah. They really know how to target me there while I'm doing it. So anyway, all right. Apparently it was too hard to be streaming while also trying to pull the radar up, but I've got it up on my phone right here. Maybe you guys will be able to see this and it'll help a little bit. So you got rain there. Yeah, this is not helping at all. Not helping at all. All right. Anyway, it looks like around 9 o'clock, it's going to stop raining in Baltimore. It's a super risky spot. I'm still okay with rolling out a little bit of it. The way I think it makes most sense to do it is roll back some of your exposures. If you want to be completely risk averse, just pull it out of your lineups entirely.
Yep. And I will say the one game that we haven't talked about, San Diego, Arizona, I kind of like everything in that damn game. Everybody kind of looks good to me in some way, shape, or form. And it's going to look better now because I'm going to try to get this all fixed on my end. This is just... Yeah, this is just a freaky spot. I can't imagine I'm going to, in single entry play, the Angels, Baltimore together. I had Atlanta as a secondary. I'm just kind of deciding what I want to do here. I think because it's the first game of the series and it's an afternoon game, that they would actually prefer to just split up and, get concessions for the entire day, open up the ballpark the entire time. I am inclined to think that they don't play.
Yeah, it's dicey. It's definitely dicey. And then even when you look at the radar, which obviously you guys could tell by looking at my phone from before, is it looks like it's going to stop around 9. There was another set of thunderstorms, clouds behind that one that could also end up hitting. It's risky. So depends how risk averse you guys want to be. If you don't want to take any chances, just pull it out of your player pool. I'm okay with a little bit of it. Still super risky though. Eric, before we get to home runs, anything else you want to talk about as far as stacks go?
No, I'm hitting 100% eject on that game. I just want to tell you what I'm doing. It's the most important thing to. Yeah, in large field, you still want to have a little bit, I think, on the just full stack side of the Baltimore side and the Angel side. But it's not worth it. I'm going to hit full eject on it and move on later. And we'll deal with this Atlanta weather now, too. Doesn't look pretty there, but right now I think it's far more doable, especially this late start with the big red blob coming in over top of Greg's phone. Doesn't make me feel very good, that's for sure. But yeah, I don't have any other stacks to really talk about. We talked about San Diego, Arizona there briefly for a second. There's not a ton of other appeal. Like, you could say, hey, Gavin Williams is going to be somewhat popular, but not popular enough to want to like go to Seattle stacks with. We know how good Cal Raleigh is, but it's not necessary here. Yeah, let's get up out of here.
And then Einstein also want to know thoughts on Arizona's stack. Yeah, Arizona I think is reasonable to be rostering against Stephen Cole. It's not like one of my favorite overall stacks on the slate, but yeah, I think it's a team that's definitely fine stacking them. No issues with that at all. So with that in mind, Eric, it's dong time. Who are you picking to homer today? I want to hear from you guys in chat who you're picking to homer. We'll read off some of your answers here on the show. Tom Olson picked Matt Olson homer. I'll open with that. Eric, who are you picking to homer today?
You don't even start with your own home run pick. You start with somebody else's home run pick.
I answered before he did. He just threw it in. Matt Olson.
Yeah. See, repent. Plus 480. Also, one of my favorite one-offs of the day going up against Stephen Kolek. Corbin Carroll. Corbin Carroll against Stephen Kolek. 48.8% hard hit. Sub 17% K rate. He's been good at avoiding barrels, but you know what else you get from Corbin Carroll? You get speed, you get opportunity, you get a lot of good stuff. 5,900 for him. Find ways to get him into some lineups. I prefer him to like Ohtani for the first time all season, basically, it would appear. I mean, Logan Webb will do that to you, but Corbin Carroll, dong of the day.
I am going to go with Ronald Acuna as my dong pick against Herman Marquez. From chat, we have Casey Leatherwood going with Christian Yelich and Jake Berger. Steven Leibowitz is going with Byron Buxton. Tom Olson is going with Matt Olson. We've got, by the way, I think that people do this for the bit now. Somebody goes with Calzone every slate now. So Alex Diaz is going with
Honey Bear. Oh yeah, lather me good.
Alex Diaz has got your boy tonight. Brandon Baker has got Yanier Diaz. Sotex has got Corey Seager. I like that one. Samir has Trevor Story and Rob Refschneider. Joseph Ramirez has Eddie King. We've got Marcelo Ozuna from Trey McKell. Ricardo Nelson has got Francisco Lindor. Donnie Boone has got Aaron Judge and Brandon Nimmo. CJ the Great has Corey Seager. John Barker going with Roman Anthony to homer. That would be exciting. Steven Sant is going with Jackson Merrill. Aaron Hines, Hunter Goodman. I got a Hunter Goodman homer the other day. Marvin H. has got Yelich and Contreras. Malucar going with the old trusty Teoscar Hernandez. And then we've got Samir's adding more homers to his list. Also got Romy Gonzalez and Bo Naylor. Ken Ratty has got Josh Smith. Steve Miner's going with Moore. We've got Io Kimbrough going with Kerry Carpenter. Kerry Carpenter had that one game where he had like 17 homers, and I don't know if he's homered since that one.
Sure hasn't.
Spoonie Love has got Ketel Marte. We've got Elliott going with Max Muncy. Game Rock 7 wants to know who's the best pitcher. For me, I went with Bryce Elder as the pitcher I like the most overall on the slate. But going back, you rewind a little bit to the top and you could listen to us talk about the pitchers again. And that is going to do it for us. If you guys have not done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Later tonight, Josh is going to be on here about an hour from now to do NBA Live Before Lock for Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Have a good weekend, guys. Eric and I will be back here on Monday. Peace.